one day, my horse made me stop and find the truth within me. And man, it was so hard and so scary. But he had brought me to a place where I couldn't stop it. And at the time, I was not very happy with him. But when I look back on that, that was a pivotal moment for me because the emotions that came from me were so big that I couldn't ignore them anymore. And that was the day that I had an opportunity to become curious about myself, curious about what was going on inside of me, curious about where it came from, what happened, all of the things that I had never acknowledged.
Welcome to the Mindful Humanship podcast with Amy Monea
and Angie Payne. Is it possible that an animal, horses, can lead us to be mindfully human?
Join us as we discuss the wisdom of the horse and the impact they can have on our everyday lives.
Our conversations are guided between the reins of connection and mental health.
Oh, hello.
Hello from Jax.
I'm Amy Monea.
And I'm Angie Payne. And together we are the co-authors of Mindful Humanship, The Knowingness of Horses.
So one of Angie's great ideas over the last couple of years was we should start a podcast. So here we are starting a podcast. And just like writing a book, we have no idea what we're doing. We thought we could do it ourselves. We thought it would be easy. And it turns out it's not. So we are engaging the help of some professionals and some folks to help us get going. And we will stay in our lane. We're learning what we can about tech and podcasts, but we'll let the professionals do their thing.
Yes, it was quite overwhelming to think about the podcast. Once we started thinking about it, then we realized that we were way out of our scope of knowledge. And it almost felt too overwhelming to even go forward. So yes, we got some help. We feel a lot better. So here we are recording our first podcast. As I said, we're the co-authors of the book Mindful Humanship. But for me, I'm a counseling therapist specializing in equine co-facilitated therapy and have been doing it for 13 years now. So seeing people that struggle with trauma, anxiety, depression, kind of that, the hard things in life. And I facilitate with horses. So horses are my partners in the therapeutic process.
And I have been doing in private practice for 10 years. Prior to that, I worked in mental health, the public system and public health care. And I do very similar work to Angie. So I'm a registered clinical social worker in the province of Alberta, and I get to partner with horses too. And just really not watch, but what horses bring to the therapeutic setting can make all the difference for a person. And it is quite incredible to watch. And part of why we wrote the book Mindful Humanship was to be able to share the work and kind of how it works without really knowing how it works, because horses can't tell us if we're right or wrong, and horses don't move through the world quite the same as we do. So we as humans just get to try to figure it out and research it in our own way and see if we can throw some hypotheses out there. And
yeah, I've asked my horses a number of times if you could just kind of tell me why you did what you did and what you were thinking, but up to today, they do not share. So we wrote the book, yes, to share stories about what horses did. We also wanted to clear up maybe some misconceptions or misunderstandings about the umbrella of equine therapy. Quite often we'll say, well, we do equine therapy and, oh yeah, my friend does it down the road and things like that. And while, yes, there are a lot of people out there under the umbrella of equine therapy, underneath that are many different modalities and many different ways that people partner with horses for therapeutic purposes. There are places where you ride horses for people perhaps with disabilities that help them with their mobility and things like that. It's not what we do here. Nobody rides horses, except we ride our own horses. There are people that partner with horses for things like building confidence and building leadership skills and building self-esteem. It's not our focus. It is sometimes what happens out of therapy sessions, but you wouldn't come to us for those specific purposes. You would probably go somewhere else to do that kind of work. And then there are people like us that do deep process trauma work with people partnering with horses, which is quite different. So part of our goal was to maybe educate people. Oh, I'm really struggling with anxiety or depression right now. Well, that might be something you would look to us for. I really want my daughter to feel more confident in herself and have better leadership skills. Then that might not be us. They might go somewhere else. So that was another reason we wrote the book. Mm-hmm. And it was a process. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was quite the process. We want it to be meaningful for you, and not just like in a thought-provoking way, but like, how do I take this or like bring some of this into my life? Whether you have horses in your backyard or not, it actually doesn't matter, because they teach us quite universal things that I think we lose as humans in all our sophistication and ways we're supposed to be and ways we're supposed to show up in the world. I think at the most basic level, it is about presence and being present.
Yes, for sure. There's nowhere else you can be than in the present moment if you're with horses. One of the things that horses, well, there's many things they don't care about. They don't care about what you're wearing. They don't care if you have makeup on or how your hair looks. They don't care about what you're saying out here about how you are in that moment. What they care about is where you are and the truth within you and who you are in there. Amy and I have talked about this a lot, and like personally, I probably spent most of my life unaware of who I was, what I believed in, what I valued, because I was going through life in a societal norm, if you know what I mean. The best example for me is how many times in a day does somebody say, "Hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Good." And then you go about your merry way. And while sometimes you might be good, there might be other times that you aren't good. But it just flows out of our mouths and we move on with life. You can't do that with horses. My personal horse, Romeo, if I walk out into the pasture and dare to tell him that I'm good when I'm not, he'll just turn around and walk away from me. They're different than dogs, hey? Because dogs actually don't care. They're just glad you're there. Mm-hmm. Horses care because it matters so much that a predator is feeling one way on the inside and presenting something else on the outside, mm-hmm. which humans are very good at. It was sort of those moments with my horse that got me kind of curious, I guess, about the fact that I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my values were. I didn't know where or even if I had a right to have a boundary. And it kind of changed my life when my horse started asking me those questions.
I love that. I love about like they don't care. They also don't care if you're the good guy or the bad guy. They don't. That doesn't matter. It matters that piece you said, safety. Safety is what seems to matter, and safety is the truth and getting honest with what's inside. And sometimes I think it is very what do you call it? Adaptive for us as humans to make our mind up and believe it. Mm-hmm. But it can also make it hard to connect with us, build like a shell, build a barrier or like an exterior that makes it hard to connect. And sometimes that's out of necessity, and it is a beautiful thing. It is not safe or for horses to engage with. They might push us to see what the wall is and to deal with it. But the whole point is to get real about the truth underneath of it. Because when we know the truth, we can work with that. We can sit with it. We can honor it. We can build from there, but you can't build from like a hollow shell. You could try, but it won't be sustainable. It won't be long lasting. And that's like horses are just so good at bringing us to the present moment. You talked before about what difference it would make to be just fully seen and heard with zero judgment, and not just the outside but the inside, to be held no matter what it was in there, if it was pain or anger or shame or like a deep longing, whatever that is, to be just seen and honored. And also, like, there's some fear around that, like a huge vulnerability to be seen, and a big safety piece. Like, what do we need to be safe enough to be able to get there? Absolutely. And a lot of the times that's the work, is just how do we start to feel safe? How do we find safety when a lot of times in our life that might not have been there, and not for lack of effort, not for lack of people. Like we may have people that loved us and took care of us and all that stuff. But safety, like, it's also so unique to each person. What safety looks like, what it feels like, how we experience it, and how we step into it and allow ourselves to be held.
Yeah. I think about my own personal story. I didn't know that I didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know that I had a wall up. I didn't know that I was filled with anger. I didn't know any of that. I was just trying to get through life and trying to do all the shoulds. You should do this. You should show up like this. You should. And so there was no real time to acknowledge what was really happening inside. One day, my horse made me stop and find the truth within me. And man, it was so hard and so scary, but he had brought me to a place where I couldn't stop it. And at the time, I was not very happy with him. But when I look back on that, that was a pivotal moment for me, because the emotions that came from me were so big that I couldn't ignore them anymore. And that was the day that I had an opportunity to become curious about myself, curious about what was going on inside of me, curious about where it came from, what happened, all of the things that I had never acknowledged, because I just didn't know how to do that. And it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. It's not for the faint of heart to have to take a good look and take a chance and step into a place that's uncomfortable. But for me, it was really life-changing. That opportunity that horse gave me to hold me in that moment of vulnerability and actually experience the feeling of safety, that I was okay, that it was fine, that he was going to hold me. He wasn't going to judge me. He wasn't going to laugh at me. He wasn't going to tell me that my feelings were not valid. He was just there holding me. And past that, I got curious about what it would be like to be in relationship with a human being like that. Like, how do you get there? Relationship with the horses, pretty easy because, well, not always, but pretty easy in that you get to be who you are. You get to make the mistakes. You get to show up messy and all of those things. And they don't care, and they hold no judgment, but what it would be like with another human being. And how do you find those people?
I have a question. Do you think you could have rushed it? Or do you think that it was like not in its own organic timeline, like things had to happen the way they had to happen, and in that moment you were able to experience safety?
Mhm.
Like if someone would have found you 10 years earlier and was like, you're not safe, you need to deal with this.
And I
Let me-
wouldn't have known.
And you'd just be like, who are you?
What do you
What are
mean?
talking
Don't feel safe. What do you mean? Right? It would have been what are you even talking about? Look at my life. It's great.
Right.
Everything's going really well. And I have this and I do this and I have a great job and blah, 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 on and on and on. Of course I'm safe because it wasn't time. It was not time for me to go through that process.
Mhm.
The pieces of me that were keeping me safe were important and had to do what they needed to do.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like to say like you need to get there and find safety and like do that and do this deep dive in yourself within yourself. That's not necessarily the point of this conversation, but to like start to, think and wonder about, not even think and wonder about, but if this is something that you find useful to contemplate it.
Get curious about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally. I love how when I'm around horses, I can forget about anything else. The best part for me, that presence piece of just, I know what they smell like. I know what they feel like. I know what it feels like to be on their back. I know what it feels like to just be in the space with them and to be able to be in that moment. And
yeah, there's something beautiful about having those moments in life where, and maybe it's yoga. I'm kind of big into yoga right now, but maybe it's yoga, maybe it's meditation. For me, it's horses because they enable me to reflect on what's going on inside of me. There's a quiet and stillness about it. And I've learned over time, wasn't just an automatic learning, but I've learned over time to be curious about what's going on inside of me and not critical about what's going on inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel angry. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't feel that way. Mm-hmm. Or I feel teary. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't feel that way. But that just honoring that's where I am and that's what's happening and that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. Don't need to do anything about it. It just is.
To be able to experience that self-compassion, often like being held by someone else or another being in that helps to build that. Because if they're not going to run away, if I'm sad or mad or cursing someone I love, if they're not going to run away, then maybe I don't need to run away from myself or like suppress or deflect that piece either.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. But people believe horses more than they believe people. I don't know.
Well, I wonder, and maybe it's a think too, but I wonder because they just are. Mm-hmm. When they speak, it just is. They don't spend a lot of time. In fact, I don't think they spend any time going, oh, I shouldn't say that because what if I hurt somebody's feelings? Or what if that comes out and it's misinterpreted? They don't do any of that. They just respond in the moment and they carry on. And I love it because it's kind of like, here's what I think, and however you take that is up to you.
Yes.
Right? Whatever you think about that, or whatever you do with that, or whatever your interpretation of that is, that's on you. I'm just giving you my thoughts or their actions or however they show up. Sometimes Romeo will try to nip me or Amy or anybody really that's putting his halter on. But they're not like, ooh, whoops, I shouldn't do that. It just is. And it's up to you to decide what you're going to do with that.
And I think too, like I'm a little different with horses too. So I'm like, oh, he tried to bite me. I might be like, oh, what an a-hole. Like, what a jerk. Why would he do that? But that's it. Then it's gone. Like, whatever. I'm not like going back and thinking, well, he must hate me. He must be trying to ruin my life. Or he must be jealous of my happiness. Like, I don't like go down this whole rabbit hole, like just like a jerk. Like I might like kind of hold a boundary with him or hold a knuckle out for him to like bop up against himself. But that's it. So like even my story about horses and their intent is far different than my story about people. If a person
Yeah,
tried to bite me or tried to push on me, I'd be like, what is that about? Why do they hate me? Why do they not want me to be happy? Why are they trying to ruin my life? Why are they trying to, and those are maybe some exaggerations, but like big assumptions instead of like, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. Carry on.
I respect where you're at.
Yeah.
All
right.
That doesn't mean we have to
Don't
be
bite
in
me. It's
this
not okay for you to bite me.
Right.
But if you got something going on that you feel like you need to do that, whatever, don't bite me.
Yep. Don't do it in my space, but hey,
Yep.
you know, whatever is happening for you, that's cool. That's okay.
Yeah.
I trust that you have the capacity to figure it all out.
Oh.
And if you don't, you know what to do for yourself.
Yeah, this is our introductory podcast for
Yeah.
Mindful Humanship, and we are so grateful that you joined us here. We are going to spend a lot of time talking about what Mindful Humanship is, some of these curiosities about what horses do and how they're helping us, and also like not just the specifics or like technical pieces around that, but really what does it all mean and why does it matter? Like who cares? Who cares if horses are trying to help us? Why does it actually matter? Not what are they doing, but why does it matter? So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
We will
absolutely.
see you again.
We're going to do this once a month to start. So it is February 2nd. So expect our next podcast to come out March 2nd, where we'll continue the conversation about what it means to be present and mindful. And we're going to share some stories about our own experiences with our horses and some of the human lessons that we have learned that, well, at least for me, but I'll speak for Amy too, that has actually helped my own personal life with relationships with other human beings. So yeah, we're excited to sit with you and share with you and have conversations with you. If you like this video and want to follow us, I think it's on that site, isn't it, Amy? I don't know. Hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe down below.
Follow us and share, and we will see you down the road.
Thank you for listening to the Mindful Humanship podcast.
May the horse always bring you home.